What if I told you that being a CEO isn't about vision, leadership, or innovation? What if it's really about surviving disaster after disaster until there's no one left to kill you? They don't tell you this in business school. The podcasts, the TED Talks, the self-proclaimed gurus, they all sell you the dream of building the next Apple, the next Amazon. But here's the truth. Running a company is not like climbing a mountain. It's like being trapped in a war zone with no map, no reinforcements, and no guarantee you'll make it out alive. Ben Horowitz, the legendary entrepreneur turned investor, wrote The Hard Thing About Hard Things, a book that doesn't teach you how to succeed. It teaches you how to suffer. And that's what makes it shocking, because for once, someone is telling the truth. This isn't a book about strategy or scaling. It's about the brutal, backbreaking, soul-crushing decisions that no one prepares you for. It's about what happens when you have to fire your best friend, when your company is bleeding out and you have to choose which part to amputate to keep it alive, when you're staring at your bank account, knowing that if you don't find a miracle by next week, everything you've built will turn to dust. The hardest part of building a business isn't the competition. It isn't even the market. It's the chaos, the uncertainty, the moments where you have to make impossible choices with no right answer. So, if you've ever dreamed of running a company, if you think being a CEO is about making bold moves and inspiring speeches, get ready, because this is what they don't tell you. This is the dark side of leadership, and if you can't handle that, you're already dead. Imagine you're standing at the edge of a cliff. Behind you is everything you've built, your company, your employees, your reputation. In front of you, nothing but fog. You can't see the ground. You don't know if there's a path forward or if you'll fall to your death. And here's the kicker. No one can make this decision for you. This is what it feels like to be a CEO. People think leadership is about making the right choices. It's not. It's about making choices when there is no right answer. Ben Horowitz had to fire his best friend, not because he wanted to, not because the guy was incompetent, but because the business would die if he didn't. Think about that. Someone who had been with him from the beginning, someone he trusted, gone. Not because of performance, not because of betrayal, but because leadership means putting the survival of the company above your own feelings. And that's the truth no one talks about. They tell you to be decisive, but what they don't tell you is that every decision will haunt you. You'll never know if you did the right thing. You'll fire someone and wonder if you gave them enough time. You'll choose to pivot and question whether you abandoned your vision too soon. You'll let an investor in and later realize they poisoned your culture. And through it all, you will be alone, because leadership isn't a democracy. You can get advice, you can listen to mentors, you can weigh every option, but at the end of the day, the decision is yours. Take Steve Jobs. When he came back to Apple, the company was a bloated mess. Dozens of unfocused products, a confused market, and an internal culture that had lost its way. So he killed nearly everything. He cut entire product lines, he fired people, he pissed off investors, he made ruthless decisions that no committee would have ever approved. And yet, those decisions saved Apple, or Elon Musk. When he took over Twitter, he walked into a company bleeding cash. He didn't have time to debate, he didn't hold endless meetings. He fired 80% of the workforce and told the remaining 20% to work like their lives depended on it. Brutal? Absolutely. But Twitter was set to collapse. He did what leaders do. He made the hard call. This is the cost of leadership. This is what no one tells you when they say, you should start a business. They imagine the glory, the headlines, the admiration. They don't imagine the sleepless nights, the impossible choices, the weight of every decision pressing down on your soul. Because here's the truth. If you want to be the boss, if you want to lead, you'd better be ready to make the decisions no one else can make. And no matter what you choose, you will live with it. Alone. They sell you a dream. They tell you that if you have a great idea, if you work hard, if you surround yourself with the right people, success will come. But they never tell you about the struggle. The struggle is waking up every morning knowing that your business might not survive the week. The struggle is making payroll when your bank account is empty. The struggle is lying awake at night, staring at the ceiling, wondering if you've made a massive mistake. And the worst part, no one can save you. Ben Horowitz calls it the struggle. And if you've ever built something from nothing, you already know exactly what that means. It's not the challenges you expect, competition, funding, marketing. It's the ones you don't. The slow bleed of watching your dream turn into a nightmare. The moment when everything feels like it's falling apart, and all you can do is hold on. Amazon was weeks away from running out of money before it became the empire it is today. Tesla was on the verge of bankruptcy in 2008, forcing Elon Musk to pour in his last $40 million just to keep the lights on. Airbnb started by selling cereal, yes, cereal, because they were so broke they had no other way to make money. This is the reality of building something real. You will be tested. You will be pushed to your absolute limit. And the only thing that separates those who make it from those who don't is who's willing to suffer longer. But here's the problem. Most people can't handle it. Most people quit at the first sign of real pain. They think the struggle means they're failing, when in reality, the struggle is the path. There is no version of success without suffering. No version of greatness without chaos. No smooth ride to the top. And if you can't embrace that, if you can't stomach the uncertainty, the fear, the pain, then go get a job, because this game isn't for you. But if you can survive the struggle, if you can take the punches, the betrayals, the exhaustion, and keep moving forward, then you'll learn something that no amount of business school or motivational speeches can teach you. You don't win because you're the smartest. You win because you didn't quit. And that's the only difference between success and failure. If you think the hardest part of running a company is competition, fundraising, or product development, you're wrong. The hardest part, people. Not technology, not market fit, not even money. It's people, managing them, motivating them, firing them, watching them walk out the door when you need them the most. Because businesses don't run on ideas, they run on people. And people are unpredictable, emotional, messy. You hire someone because they seem brilliant. Then months later, you realize they're toxic. Do you fire them? What if they're your top performer? What if the team relies on them? You trust an executive to lead, but they fail. Not because they didn't try, but because they weren't built for this stage of the company. Do you let them go? What if they were with you from the beginning? You pour years into building a culture, and one bad hire, just one, poisons the entire team. How do you fix it? Ben Horowitz says, people at work are like family, except you actually have to fire them. And that's the cold, hard truth. You will have to let go of people you care about. You will have to make decisions that ruin friendships. And if you can't, you'll lose your business instead. Take Uber. At its peak under Travis Kalanick, Uber wasn't just aggressive, it was ruthless. The culture became so toxic that it almost destroyed the company from the inside. Take Google. It went from one of the most desirable workplaces in the world to laying off thousands of employees in 2023, people who had dedicated their careers to it. And they were fired by an email. No warning, no conversation, just deleted. Because in business, there are no happy endings when it comes to people, only hard choices. So what's the solution? First, hire slow, fire fast. You will never regret being careful about who you bring in, but you will always regret keeping the wrong person for too long. Second, don't confuse loyalty with competence. Just because someone was great when you started doesn't mean they're the right person as you scale. And third, understand that no matter what you do, people will leave. They'll move on. They'll quit. They'll betray you. Some will disappoint you. Others will shock you. And you'll have to keep going anyway. Because if you think you can build something great without making hard choices about people, you're not building anything at all. There are two kinds of CEOs. Peacetime CEOs focus on vision, culture, and expansion. They nurture teams, optimize operations, and plan for the long term. They build for stability. Wartime CEOs, they don't have that luxury. Wartime CEOs operate under one rule: win or die. They make brutal decisions. They cut costs, kill projects, fire people, and do whatever it takes to keep the company alive. They don't care about feelings. They don't care about tradition. They care about survival. And if you don't know when to shift from peace to war, you won't last long. Take Steve Jobs. When he returned to Apple in 1997, the company was weeks away from bankruptcy. Peacetime Apple was dead, so Jobs went to war. He cut 70% of the product line, fired hundreds, and made a deal with his former enemy Bill Gates to secure investment. That wasn't diplomacy. That was survival. Or look at Elon Musk. When he took over Twitter, it wasn't a business, it was a sinking ship. He fired 80% of the staff in a matter of weeks. He ripped apart the culture. And while the world called him reckless, he understood something they didn't. Twitter didn't need a CEO, it needed a war general. This is the hard truth. If you try to run a company like a peacetime CEO when you're at war, you will lose. Most founders fail because they hesitate. They see the storm coming, but instead of cutting costs, they wait. Instead of making tough calls, they delay. They hope things will get better. Hope is not a strategy. A wartime CEO acts. They don't wait for consensus. They don't get paralyzed by emotions. They make the call and live with the consequences. But here's the twist. If you stay in wartime mode too long, you destroy the company from the inside. Look at Uber. Under Travis Kalanick, wartime leadership built an empire. But he never shifted gears. He kept fighting even when he didn't need to. And in the end, his own board fired him. That's the balance. The best CEOs know when to switch modes. So the question is, when the war comes, will you be ready to fight? And when the war is over, will you know when to put the sword down? The hardest battles in business aren't fought in boardrooms. They're fought in your own mind. People think CEOs fail because of bad strategy, competition, or market shifts. But in reality, most CEOs lose because they self-destruct. You will doubt yourself. You will feel like an imposter. You will have days where you don't want to get out of bed because the weight of your decisions is crushing you, and no one will understand. Your employees see a leader. Your investors see a number. Your friends and family, they don't see anything at all because you can't talk to them about it. This is the loneliness of leadership. Ben Horowitz says, by far the most difficult skill I learned as a CEO was managing my own psychology. Because when you're leading a company, your mindset is the company's mindset. If you break, it breaks. If you panic, it spirals. If you lose hope, everyone else will too. Take Jeff Bezos. He never made emotional decisions, never let market downturns shake his vision. He mastered long-term thinking while everyone else played short-term games. Or Elon Musk. Love him or hate him, he's built multiple billion-dollar companies while being attacked from every angle. Lawsuits, criticism, internal chaos, and yet he keeps going. So how do you keep going? First, detach from the chaos. If you react to every problem with emotion, you'll burn out in months. Learn to step back, analyze, and make decisions from a place of clarity. Second, build a system to manage stress. That could mean daily workouts, meditation, a therapist, or a close circle of mentors. Whatever it is, find it before you need it. And third, accept that it will never feel easy. If you're waiting for the day when the stress disappears, you're in the wrong game. Because being a CEO isn't about eliminating problems. It's about becoming the kind of person who can handle them. And that is what separates those who survive from those who collapse under the pressure.